Hi, my name is Rivka Deray, and I will be joining this year's Robert Burns Night with Aris Theatre.
And you'll be performing what works?
So I will be performing, I will tell you in just a moment, I will be performing the Jolly Beggars' Sodger Laddie. I will be performing Paraphrase of the First Psalm, and I will be singing What Can a Young Lassie Do wi' an Old Man? And I'll be singing Auld Lang Syne with everyone else.
For anyone watching the interview today, I need to point out that both Rivka and I are sick. Rivka is very congested and has got some things going on.
It's all just high pressure, right?
She can feel free to blow her nose in the middle of the interview, and you'll just have to bear with it. I've got COVID at the moment, and I'm kind of foggy. So just bear with us, and we'll get right into it. So first off, I know that this is your first production performing with Arish, but I know you've managed to catch a show. So just tell us, what is it? What are your impressions of Arish so far coming into it, based on what you've seen and what you hope to experience with us?
So my first impression of Aris Theatre is incredibly warm. It just seems like a lot of wonderful people coming together to both have a good time as well as entertain. I got to see the Cinderella Panto. It was a very, very fun time. Sorry. And I'm just looking forward to immersing myself in that group. I find that there's something magical about performing live in theater that is unmatched, and I'm excited to jump back into it. It's been a minute, so.
Fantastic. So clearly we're Burns Night, and our theme is Robert Burns, Scottish national poet. Had you read much Burns? Were you familiar with Burns at all before getting cast in this? And how do you feel about his works as you've been reading them and getting ready for this production?
So I was completely unfamiliar with Burns. Burns Night is something that I had, read once or twice, but it didn't mean anything to me. I knew it was a cultural phenomenon somewhere. So being invited to be a part of one, I was like, let's get in the research. And it's fun, actually. There's a dichotomy. There's something fun about being part of something you already know and you kind of already appreciate, and then there's something equally fun about being invited to something brand new. It's like reading a good book for the first time. Like, you're never going to get that moment back. So just getting to research Burns Night and Robert Burns has been really, really fun. And I like his poetry. I struggle with poetry. I find a lot of it can be very self-indulgent and pretentious, and I just
That's not you.
No, not really. So when I stumble across poetry like this that is straightforward and simple and just of the people and fun, and you don't need an open thesaurus to understand what you're saying, it's just nice. It's refreshing, and it gives it such a timeless feel.
And I know that from what we've talked about before, you kind of feel a special connection with Paraphrase of the First Psalm.
Yes.
So what is that?
I mean, I grew up saying psalms, and I've read some of the translations in English, but it's one thing for something to be translated and one thing for it to be explained. Like, just because something is in English does not suddenly mean you get what it's saying, especially when it comes to esoteric texts like Psalms, for instance. So when I read his paraphrase of the first Psalm, it was like the first time I read it, and I was like, oh, that's what it's saying. Oh, that's really nice. And again, it's just that feeling of taking the complicated and bringing it to the people. Like, yeah, this is it. It's very simple. It's very, it applies to everyone.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
And what about the song?
What can a lassie do? What
can a lassie do? Yeah.
So that one, as well as Sodger Laddie, both of them, they just strike me the fun of it. I like how just light and it's you feel the hand clapping and the boot stomping just reading it. It just has that vibe. But even more than that, just, I mean, if you look past the initial text of like, let's feast, let's drink, and be merry, like, these are folks that are going through a really tough time. These are not people who have easy lives. Like Sandra Laddie, what she's singing about, she's got like the worst life ever, and she basically drowns it in like the simple pleasures of life. And it was just a reminder for me of, right now, in the world, there's a lot of tension. There's some tough times going on. And it's so easy to be like, oh my God, have we ever? Will we ever? And it's just human suffering. No one has a monopoly on human suffering. And no one has a monopoly on finding joy in it. Like, you don't have to be a genius to find the joy, to find the light in the dark. You know, like it's this young girl who, like, you know, she's just, life's tough. So she's like, let's find those crumbs. Let's find those little beams of light. And just, in this case, we have a song now that everyone's just like, let's go, you know? And
Absolutely.
it's very inspiring. It's very inspiring.
Indeed. And I think you've really touched on something that's the quintessence of Burns. Yeah, he's in touch with suffering, but he's also saying, let's be joyous.
Yeah, let's not get lost in it.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about you, Rivka Deray. You know, what is your background? How did you get into theater? How did you wind up in Atlanta, Georgia?
So I moved abroad. I didn't know a single soul. And I was trying to find a house, trying to find an apartment, trying to find a job, like all the basics. And I stumbled on the audition for a play, and I was like, this is how we're going to make friends. There's no way this is going to be a bad idea. So it was purely just to meet people. That's why. It was just to meet people. I was like, I'm going to take like a little side role. And then, you know, that way I'll be in the same room with these people for 3 months of rehearsals on and off every, you know, 3 times a week or whatever. And then hopefully, you know, I'll find someone that I like, we'll make some friends. Long story short, I ended up getting cast as the lead in this show, which blew my mind. The director took a large gamble on me, by the way. Like, when I say it was natural, it was raw. She had a lot of polishing to do, and just thank God she took that gamble on me, because it absolutely changed my life. I did make those friends, for one. They're still my friends to this day. They're wonderful, wonderful people. But it also really just, I fell in love with acting as a craft and the ability it has. Like, when those people walk in the room, if you're doing your job right, they step away from all of their worldly cares, from all the baggage they've brought in with them. It gets left at the door. But even beyond that, you know, some plays exist just to make people laugh and forget. And I think that there's a nobility in that. But there's also some plays that show us the best that we can be. And they don't do that by putting someone on a pedestal. They do it by taking the people on those pedestals and showing, like, they're great, but not because they're different. They're great because they are the same as you and me. And yet they rose above the fear that we all have, the doubt that we all have. You know, they had all of those things, and they did this thing anyway. And there's something so deeply inspiring to me about that.
To be able to tell stories like that with theater.
And the ability of storytelling, specifically as an actor, where you are stepping in to the shoes of the person you're portraying. I mean, because there is something cool about, you know, once upon a time, ladies and gentlemen, there's this person walking down the street. And then versus, you know, stepping into the shoes of that person, it's just a transformational ability to change people's lives, or just to make them laugh.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I've been doing that ever since.
And you now have the shirt, the Theater Kids shirt.
I got this for my birthday from a dear friend of mine. I was like, that is awesome.
From no interest in theater at all to, by God, hoodie wearing theater kid.
Pretty much.
Now, I know that this was in Israel and Jerusalem where you got into theater. Yeah. So clearly that's a long way from Atlanta. How'd you manage to wind up in Atlanta?
So I wanted to focus more on film, and Israel does have a film industry, but it's very, very small. So in order to grow, I was like, I'm going to move back to the States because it has a massive film industry. And I just want to grow at a much faster rate. And I genuinely want to make a difference with film. And the bigger an industry you're in, the bigger impact you can have. So yeah, that's really what guided that decision. And then Atlanta specifically, I don't even want to say this, I don't want anyone else to hear this, but like, in case you don't know, LA and New York are overcrowded with talent, and they're very expensive. Atlanta is not yet super overcrowded, and it's not yet super expensive.
Right.
So it was just a much more hospitable place to grow for someone who, you know, isn't showing up with frankly anything. I had like $1,500 in the bank. Right. Like, it was, I wasn't out here making it rain.
And something that's germane to this is you and I met on a film set right at 1 year ago. So
yeah.
So your strategy paid off.
Yeah. Thank God. Like, it really, I have no regrets. I came here to do a thing. Since arriving here, I've worked on, I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere around 50 projects, and I'll be here 2 years in March.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, just so much gratitude, and for the amazing people that I've met, yourself included, and just the opportunities that it's afforded me.
Fantastic. Well, we are certainly looking forward to having you part of Aris Theatre Burns Night 2024. And say goodbye to the people.
Bye, people. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you, genuinely. And yeah, come on, take a load off. Join us on the 24th. Have a good laugh. Sing along.
Don't join us on the 24th.
Sorry, join us on the 25th. Join us on the 25th. I have a cold.
I mean, you can
Ken.
join us at the rehearsal.
I have a cold.
I had
Join us on
just
the
said the year
25th.
2024, so that was in your mind. All right. Well, thanks again, Rivka. And we are out of here.
All right.